Good morning. Guten Erev Shabbos, Parshas Shaftim, and dealing with Shaftim. So we're also dealing in Halacha with a Beis-Din. So somewhat apropos, but we're going to talk about Kiddush HaChodesh and the unique role of a Beis-Din in Kiddush HaChodesh, which is really could be, and it seems to me, very different than anywhere else. So let's begin with the Rambam Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh, Perek Gimel Halacha Aleph. The Rambam writes, Eidim Sharoas HaChodesh, Eidim that saw the month, meaning they saw the moon. V'hoyu beinayim u'bein makim sheyesh be'Beis-Din mahalach layla v'yei me'pachas, Hilchin u'meidim, they go and they testify. V'hoyu beinayim, yes, okay, lo yelchu, they shouldn't go. She'enei dusim achayim shloishim me'eles, their edus after the 30th day doesn't help. Shekvarnis abra chedesh. Now this is a problem, because the Rambam says later at the end of this parak that after 4 or 5 days, Edom come from far and testify that they saw the new month in the right time, which was Leil Shleishim. And if the Edom stand by their testimony, Beis-Din has to change. So how does he write here that it doesn't help? Now, I want to note that it's not my question. This is a question the Mishnah brings in the name of the Mefarish. But it's a Welt's question. Halacha Gimel, the Rambam adds another halacha. He writes like this. In Beis-Din, there were two things. And after there were so many problems with people testifying and lying, so Beis-Din required two things. They required Edom, required verification Edom, to verify that these are good people. So he writes, it's just like the Edom themselves can be Mechal Shabbos in order to establish the new month. Edom the Edom that come along with that. Beis-Din makir and Asaray, the Beis-Din doesn't recognize them. If they recognize they don't need anybody, they can do it themselves. Even if this guy who's coming to verify is only an Eidech won't help because you need two Eidim. He goes, Imahem, Umechalel Misafik. He's Mechal Shabbos Misafik. Shemiyimtze Echad Mehen. I'm sorry, perhaps you'll find a second person who will join with him once he gets there. Might find somebody. So Safik is Mechal Shabbos. So the Lechem Mishnah here again. Here's a major issue. Haki Mechal Shabbos and the Safik. By Mila, Allah is that if it's a Safik, we're not Mechal Shabbos. So there are many, many, many answers. That there's a difference between the Kiddush HaChodesh, its central theme to Klal Yisrael, to setting up the Mayadas. It's a mitzvah on all of Klal Yisrael. A lot of different answers. The Ragid says Avot, and he says it in his style. And nobody knows what he means, or at least some, I don't know what he means. But perhaps in the end, maybe what we say fits to what he says, although I'm not sure. Now he says that here it's different, because I already wrote that this is not real Eidus. It's only a mitzvah to go to Beis-Din. Okay, therefore, Mechal not Misafik, because the mitzvah is to go to Beis-Din, it's not Eidus. What that means, I don't know. It's very deep. What does it mean? Perhaps it means what we're going to say, but maybe. I don't know. there are a ton, really a myriad of answers, a myriad, but a lot of answers. But I would like to take some time and analyze Eidus B'chlal, and perhaps, as a result, realize the difference between Eidus and the Eidus of regular Eidus and Eidus of the and Eidus of Kiddush HaChodesh. I think that's where we are going to I'll get involved. So let's spend some time with that. I'm not going to get into. I think I may have mentioned it in one of our shir, and over the course of time, I can't believe I didn't, because it's one of the things that I am very strong about, and brought many. The Rambam shit in Eidus in general is that the Eidim are not information for the Beis-Din to process. The Eidim are the base of which Beis-Din follows the psak. In other words, the Eidim create the din, Beis-Din just is the recipient of that and the facilitator of the psak. So, and that's why the Rambam uses a lashon lachtoi chesadin al pishnei Eidim. And we've spoken about it, I believe so. I definitely have spoken about it, not necessarily in this format. But the idea that Eidim are not a means, they are an ends, they are the psak. And it's not a question of believing them or not believing them. Once they are, the Rambam's lashon, once they're kosher, that's it. They create the din. We're going to see soon how that affects so many areas. That's it. What the Torah tells you, believe them and finish. You got to accept them. And all Beis-Din does is facilitate. Beis-Din is the one that that gives the verdict and authenticates that they are good Eidim, but that's it. Once they're good Eidim, they are the ones that are the source of what Beis-Din Beis-Din follows their lead, so to speak. So, and again, I don't want to get into this part right now because there's a lot of information on it, and there's a lot of proofs on that, and it's just a question of going through the actual wording, but that's not where we're going today. But it is definitely a very strong point in understanding Eidus. So in other words, Eidus is not generally in American court and in courts in general. What are witnesses? Witnesses is the judge or the jury has to listen to different opinions or different views and analyze and come to a decision of what they think is right or wrong. In the case of Eidus in the Torah, that's not the way it works. Eidus, all Beis-Din has to do is verify that they're kosher. Once they're kosher, that's it. They are Eidus and they take the cake. Everything goes according to what they say. They are the catalyst for where Beis-Din just facilitates the psak. But Beis-Din is lachtoi chadin al pi Eidim. That's it. It's through Eidim. Okay, that's in general the rule of Eidus. What I'd like to present today, and I think there's ample evidence to that, is that Kiddush HaChodesh is different. And perhaps that's what the Ragachover is referring to. Again, I'll say perhaps because I have no clarity that that's what he means, because the way he speaks, the way he writes, but perhaps that's what he's referring to. So I want to stress a few things that we see in the Rambam earlier in yesterday's shir. The Rambam Perek Aleph and Kiddush Hachodesh Halacha Zayin writes, Mitzvahs Esem and Atayra al Beis-Din sheyachashvu v'yedu yira hayireich ha'layir. Beis-Din has to figure out if the moon was seen or not. V'sheyidrishu es ha'edem at sheyikachus hachodesh. What's this supposed to mean? They had to figure out yichash. That's the mitzvah, and then they should search and interrogate the Edom ad sheyikachus hachodesh. Step 3, v'yishlechu v'yediu asharam be'ezi yom resh chodesh. Where does this come into the mitzvah? And that's a separate issue to go and tell people. What day is Yom Tov? He brings a pasuk. And here comes a very, very, very unique and interesting halacha. Din Torah she'ein medagdik be'edus hachodesh. You don't take too much care in their word in edus hachodesh, meaning shafilu Kiddush HaChodesh al pi edem. You mekadosh hachodesh al edem. V'nim tzuzein. In other words, 2 edem came to bed and said, we saw the moon on Monday evening. And based on their testimony, Beis-Din was mekadosh hachodesh for Tuesday. Okay? After that, 2 Edom came in and said, guys, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They were with us on Mars, or they were with us on the moon, or they were with us in a cave and they couldn't have seen it. Can't see anything from the cave. Whatever it is, they said it wasn't possible. They were Zaymimin, Edom Zaymimin, refuted Edis with the where we would kill them if it were a case of Dinei Nefashis. And we would take away all their money if it were a case of Dinei Mamanis, whatever they wanted to take away. And here, no, go ahead. Paskin, you did a good job. You're okay. Okay, so afterwards, this is Berik Beis Halacha Beis, but then you go back to Halacha Yud. The other Rambam suddenly throws in a line that may give us some understanding, which people say that's what it means. Beis-Din shekitchu as hachodesh, Beis-Din that was mekadosh hachodesh bein sheigim, bein mutoyim, bein nanusim, whether they were mistaken or they were inadvertent or they were forced. Harei zeh mekudash. Everybody got to follow their calendar. Even though they know that he made a mistake, the Beis-Din made a mistake. It's only given to them. And then he adds a line which is his own input. I mean, there is a lashon, but Rambam in his unique manner brings it out. And he brings the pasuk asher tikru oisam, which is ata. He doesn't say that, but that's what it is. Okay. Next parak, he brings 2 more halachas, and they're interesting because it's all, I think, builds up this uniqueness of Kiddush HaChodesh. And they woke up in the morning when they and then they made the next day. And then he brings this halacha. And after 4 or 5 days, Edom came and said they saw it. So what do? We scare the whatever out of them. We do everything. We ask them tons of questions and we drive them nuts, literally. And we analyze every word they said. Beis-Din does everything not to follow what they know now is true. How come? It's true. Finish. However, Edom stand their ground next halacha, and they're known to be good or decent people. doesn't goes back. Why? Because bottom line is it's like there's a like pulling of two strings here. On one hand, let's try to keep the month. On one hand, we have no choice. We have no choice. Even there, the Rambam is just incredibly blunt in trying to the way he present us that there is something unique about this case. So all this needs explanation. All this needs explanation. When he writes, "V'sheyidrishu ha'edem ad sheyikatshu," what's ad? Till they mekadosh v'yikatshu. As we asked, what's the notifying of people to do with the din of Kiddush HaChodesh? Yes, ultimately, I understand that, but that's not part of the mitzvah. This halacha that ein medagdik and Kiddush HaChodesh is a Yerushalmi. And the Yerushalmi says, if they were Kaddish, and then they were found to be Zaymim, are they Kaddish? So they asked him, is that true? Yeah, that's what Rabbi Yechon said. Again, what's the source of this? So you could say, as we said, because we learned that because even if they made a mistake, even they were mistaken or misled. But that's the Rambam doesn't mention that till later. It sounds like that's a separate Allah. And the bottom line is, Edom, Zayim, the Torah says are no good. We kill people. We kill the Edom. We and here we're letting them get away with this. we're keeping Pesach based on these people that we would have killed if it were a case of the Din Nefashis. Yeah. That the Rambam uses, as we said, this unique wording. Now, that's the reason why you go after them, even if they make a mistake. Now, the Gemara, the famous story with Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua, who didn't keep, who thought that it was a mistake the way they made the month, and he made him. Rabbi Gamliel made Rabbi Yeshua keep his decision, Beis-Din's decision, which was correct, but it doesn't matter. The way he did it is what upset people. Whatever. That's not the issue now. And Rabbi Kiva consoled Rabbi Yeshua by telling him, that if he even make a mistake. But the Rambam doesn't bring that. He just says that if they made a mistake, it's because of an ein adam muscle have misha tziva lishma made this with tziva lismach. What's one to the other? Why didn't he bring the Gemara? And then he pulls the other way. If they already did it, try not to. If you have no choice, give in. What's going on here? So I think it's quite evident, or at least it would seem quite evident, that when it comes to Kiddush HaChodesh, it's not about the Edom like it's everywhere else. It's about Beis-Din. And here, Edom are a source of information, not a source of rendering a verdict. In other words, they don't tell you what to do. Beis-Din gathers information and decides. And therefore, he doesn't always mention Edom when he describes the mitzvah. It's Beis-Din should know when the month is. Now they know it. They can know it from the from the calculations. They can know it through Edom, and they need to do both. They need to calculate and then get Edom. And the Edom are there as a means to give them the information in addition to their calculations, in addition to everything else. So there are three parts to the mitzvah, according to them. They need to do their research. They need to get as much information as they can through a, and then they need to notify everybody. That's the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. So the whole edus is to verify, to bring it, to gather information to Beis-Din. Beis-Din should have information. So therefore, it could be Edom Zayim also should allow. Let's stop and think. What is wrong with Edom Zayim? What is wrong with Edom Zayim? Zog the Rambam in Hilchos Edus that we don't know that the second pair is wrong. We don't know that. What we know is that the Torah tells us to listen to the second pair. I mean, the first pair is wrong. The Torah tells us to listen to the second pair. Now, Beis-Din calculated a certain calculation. According to them, this is what should be. And they analyzed and they came to Edom and everything fit. Got it. Now we have a second pair that says, no, they weren't with us. Beis-Din doesn't know that for a fact. Yes, we'll kill on it based on those Edom, if Edom are there to tell us what to do. If Edom tell us what to do, is a different story. But these Edom are not. These Edom are information Edom. So even if they're Zayim, it doesn't mean they're liars. On the contrary, if you analyze the words of the Rambam Hilchos Edus, it's quite clear that the only idea of the of Zayim is that they're not talking about the whether it's right or wrong. It's a new concept of Edom Zayim. So what does Beis-Din do when two Edom come? We try to knock them out. We try to stop them. We try to make sure that they're not reliable. We see what we can do to verify, to stand by our calculation, Beis-Din's calculation. And that's why if the Edom who come and want to tell us something different than what we did, then come along and stand by. Bottom line is, like there is a power of seeing. Beis-Din may not have a choice, but Beis-Din does everything not to let that happen. Why? Because they have their own reason, based on their knowledge and information. They can go ahead and do what they did. And they are the power behind it, as Rambam says. They are the ones that it depends on. It's all them. It's not the Edom. So that could be when we started off. The Rambam says if you come later, it doesn't help. It doesn't mean it doesn't help if you will be accepted. As far as you're concerned, I have no reason to go. Everything is good. It's all good. Don't change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And yes, you could go and you could do it and you could go and change the whole world and make the day a different day. If you'll stand by and you'll put up with it. But there is no benefit in going. That's ain't the Ellis. Ain't the Ellis means there's no benefit in their going. Of course, if they go and they stand by what they do, good, but there's no benefit in it. There's no reason. Don't waste your time. That's what the Rambam says in Halacha. So basically, let's get back to the basic points. Yes, if Edom stand by and come and tell us this is the way it is, this is what it is, and they're great Edom, and they're muksher, and they're kosher, and they're all hachsherim that you can have, and they're Beis-Din. Then Beis-Din will say, you know what? We have actual vision, actual people who we know saw the moon at a specific time, and we did not get that information. We're going to change. But Beis-Din will do everything not to allow that to happen because it's not in their hands. It's in Beis-Din's hand. Beis-Din could try to stop it. Now, and based on that, so again, based on that, it's again all informative. Now let's go back to the original question. if it's all information, perhaps anybody coming to give information, anybody who comes and offers information is part of the process. And when Chil Shabbos is permitted, it's permitted because of this great mitzvah. Then everybody, that's what maybe the Ragatron means. It's not about regular edus. I don't know that he means that. It's about information. Perhaps, and again, I say this as a very big Kiddush, but it might be beautiful in the words of the Rambam. In Perek Beis Halacha Zayin, the Rambam writes, "Keitzad mekabel Kiddush HaChodesh." How do you receive the aid? He writes, anybody that's roy lahoyid, that saw the moon, comes to Beis-Din. And Beis-Din brings them all into one, into a banquet hall and makes them a beautiful meal so that people should want to come. The first group, that's the first pair that came, we check them out and we do all our research. And if they're okay, their edus is done. Beis-Din does not yet render the verdict. Beis-Din brings everybody else in, asks them, quick questions. And he says they all give their edus without the real interrogation. And he says, Lo shetzrichen lehem. Not that we need them. They shouldn't go away feeling down, and they should want to come back. So that we give them the time of day. It would sound like we humor them. So what do? We do two things. First of all, we give them a big banquet. And we ask them, general questions to see if they're on target. So I have to understand, what is this? What was I'm saying? Well, what in the world? Why would we think that's tzrichen lehem? I mean, what does he have to tell us that? So that's an obvious. And the Gemara, he's quoting the Gemara, but it's obvious that you don't need them. Why would we need more than two Eidim? Well, maybe, just maybe, we don't need them, but their information helps. Because this is not the usual edus. So true, we can pass it on to. But can you imagine if you have 100? Isn't that a better knowledge? If it's about Beis-Din getting information, Beis-Din gathering information, there could be a reason that we should need it. And then he says, no, we don't need it. But of course, when they do say it, it helps us. There's more information. In other words, it's not necessarily, but it's positive. If so, we can say that therefore there's no Chilul Shabbos. Because they are all part of the information that's necessary here. There's no Chilul Shabbos because I'm coming to give information. My information may not, but it definitely is part of the information. It's part of the process. So therefore, it's not a real suffix. It's only a suffix whether we're going to be part of that more, vital information, or we're going to be part of the side information. But information we are offering. And since you're offering information, you're part of the Kiddush Levana process. And therefore, it's not like Mila where it's a suffix. This is not a suffix. Maybe that's what the Ragat Shema meant. But you have to push it into his words, which I can't know for sure whether you can or not. But based on what we're saying, it would come out very, very nice. This idea that there is a value to everybody's piece of information for Beis-Din to come to the conclusion. And you know what? It would help in the long term. Definitely reinforce a lot of things. If Chas v'Shalom, the first group becomes Zaymin, Beis-Din can definitely rely on this to push and do everything to avoid that Zaymim and so on and so forth. It definitely has value in the process of Kiddush HaChodesh. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody. Gesund und stark. Shivizech taksivach simeteven a good given shalish on the table. Be well.